Hotel 29.5 Shamans. Forward. Dear reader, before you stands a door to a world erased from the map, a world where cities sink into fog, and in the dark corridors of inns breathe something from which even ghosts flee without looking back. Where walls remember the screams of their guests and kettles hiss like cooling souls. Here alchemy ceases to be a secret and becomes the very alphabet of life. Every step can lead to an encounter with those who perhaps should have been left asleep. This story began with a simple question: can love be created as a formula? What happens if you pour feelings into a flask, measure out drops of memory and attachment, mix them with anger and hope, and wait for something to ignite, perhaps the very feeling that can neither be measured nor forgotten? The answer lies where it's easier to believe in illusion than in reality, where the dreams of ancestors become the roadmap of fate. Those who seek the formula of love once opened the door and stepped into a place where boundaries exist only in the mind, desires from which one cannot retreat. A step toward truth is always a sacrifice. Anxiety, fuss, restlessness, leave them behind the door, turn the page, and be ready to hear the formula come alive, the one no one has yet completed. Your journey to the town of Craven Bay begins. Chapter 1. Love is matter. You are not obliged to become like everyone else. In your strangeness lies your strength. In your uniqueness, your magic. In a room where dust rested on the shelves like frozen memories, a dim desk lamp flickered weakly. Its light trembled, as if afraid of the one sitting at the table. A figure in a dark robe, gray in the hair and with a stubborn spark in the eyes, slowly turned the pages of a worn leather-bound book. The paper crackled as if resisting the touch. On one spread, an almost completed formula. Components, memory, anger, attachment. 29 in total, arranged in a precise sequence. It was shamanic alchemy, not just a mixture, but an ancient language where every word was a substance. But something was missing. In the margins, a neat hand had written, "Pure Demon," and next to it a hurriedly drawn symbol, either an unfinished circle or a crescent with a gap. What did it mean? Every time he read those words, there was something elusive in them, something that seemed to breathe on its own. The unnamed 30th, either never born into this world or erased from memory. Below, like a verdict, was written, "True feeling cannot be created without sacrifice." With his thumb, he flicked the recorder switch. The voice that followed sounded muffled, almost a whisper. Experiment 35, formula stable, 29 synthesized. The last one, absent. Without it, the reaction will not complete. The catalyst activates, but the formula decays after 3 hours and 47 minutes. This is not a potion. This is only an imitation, and I need love. Real love. The scientist paused, tracing the edge of the page with his finger. Attachment ignites quickly, but fades. Oxytocin only warms, and serotonin confuses love with habit. His gaze lifted to a vessel where thick blood-red liquid swirled beneath rising steam. On the walls behind him, burned runes. On the floor, a circle, old teeth, ash of herbs, and 29 bundles, each marked with a drop of dried blood. Someone had been collecting them for years, but the 30th was missing. "The 30th," he murmured. "She is not of the world of matter. She is the center of the circle, the light without which all else collapses." The mirror caught his eyes. For a moment, the reflection hesitated. The shadow at the table curved its lips in a faint smile. The recorder clicked again. Objective confirmed. Subject, woman, mid-age. Number, 28, proceeding to observation stage. His fingers lingered on the stop button. He was about to turn it off, then paused. Click, record again. A short, decisive motion, and in a quiet, broken tone he added, "P.S. Love, real love. It blows away like a soap bubble. Beautiful, fragile, doomed. It fades from a gaze that has grown too calm. But my love is not a bubble. It is a formula, Matter gathered drop by drop. It does not waver. It does not err. Betrayal, impossible. Freedom, erased. What remains is essence, eternal, like stone. My creation is almost complete. The switch clicked. Silence swallowed the sound, and with it, the room's breathing ceased. They had been driving all night. The tires whispered over wet asphalt, cutting through fog that rolled along the ocean shore like the breath of something ancient. Dawn was dull and gray. Puddles on the road mirrored the headlights, glinting like shards of shattered mirrors. The world felt unsteady, unreal, like a dream from which there was no turning back. There was only one way left, forward. Lily sat behind the wheel. From the car's old speakers came the uncertain twang of country music. In the back seat, Professor Lucas snored in an awkward pose, cramped, twisted, as if someone had carefully arranged him for display. Up front, Henry rested his forehead against the fogged-up glass as though searching for a way out of the mist even in his sleep. With a groan, Lucas stirred, yawned, stretched, and grabbed his calves. God, my spine feels like 100-year-old oak. Half opening his eyes, he poked a finger toward the blurry window where trees and streetlights drifted past. Where are we? He croaked. Almost there, Lily answered. A road sign flashed by. Cape of the Damned. White letters on the pale light of dawn. What? Lucas jerked upright. His outburst was so loud that Henry groaned and opened one eye. Why are you yelling? Some of us are trying to sleep, he muttered, covering his face with a hand. Well, Cape of the Damned. So what? He added through a yawn. There are hundreds of those. You could open a new damn something every month and no one would notice. What do you mean, so what? They wrote about it in the papers. It's a forgotten town. Creepy, eerie to the bone. They even shot a horror movie there. No need for decorations. Everything's already perfect for nightmares. Reporters were swarming all over it. And, Henry mumbled without opening his eyes, there was a maniac there. You didn't hear? Not just another lunatic. He had an obsession. They even gave him a nickname. The chemist. No, the alchemist. Everything he did was built around formulas, sacrifices, mysticism, complete madness. I don't remember all the details, but there were a lot of victims. I'm not even sure they caught him. Ugh, I've got chills. Lucas straightened up, pushing his glasses against the bridge of his nose with a hopeful squeak. We're not actually going there, right? Just passing by? Without taking her eyes off the road, Lily said calmly, Wrong, Professor. That's exactly where we're headed. Oh, God, groaned Lucas, slumping back in his seat. We just got out of that mental ward. I hypnotized myself to recover, you know. It was brutal. Everything went straight to hell. Lily turned her head, smirking. Exactly the plan. To hell with the plan worked perfectly. Then, softer, more focused, Don't worry, Professor. Everything's fine. I got all I needed from my husband. We're on the right path. I can feel it. Lucas noticed a small pouch of dried herbs at her feet. The bitter scent of wormwood hung in the air. Again with your roots? He snorted. You think herbs can fix what doctors can't? Lucas, you're a professor of botany, Lily shot back sharply. You should know better. For the earth, nothing is impossible. No! Lucas flared up, offended. First of all, I'm a specialist in retrospective biomorphic reconstruction of Mesozoic phytobiota based on stratified phytoliths, not some backyard herbalist. Same difference, Henry grumbled. Professor, please, every time you say that title, my ears wilt. He winced, covering his ears. Seriously, Professor, give it a rest. Second, Lucas continued, raising a finger like during a lecture. Oh, here we go. Henry sighed theatrically and glanced at Lily. Might as well erase the word plant from the dictionary. Just once, could we drive in peace, without a seminar? Don't interrupt. Lucas lowered his voice suddenly. What once grew on this earth wasn't just plants. It was language, incantation, a code. Millions of years ago, every leaf knew its role. And now, silence, emptiness, no letters, no syntax, only noise. Lily didn't look away from the road. Her tone was calm, steady. Doctors make mistakes. The Earth doesn't. It gives what's needed, if you ask it right. Henry sat up a little, wiped the fogged window, and smiled faintly. Convenient faith. The Earth never talks back. You can project any myth onto it. Fine, let's drop the gloom, he said more lightly, pulling out a worn notebook with a faded cloth cover. He untied the string, grabbed a bookmark, and opened it with practiced ease, as if he did it every morning. Lucas perked up, leaning forward, eyes shining. There, that's it, the proto-code of nature. He hovered over the notebook. On the page was a drawing of a plant, simple, schematic, but precise. That's what I mean. The leaf is a letter, the stem, syntax, the bloom, an algorithm. It's not just flora, it's a living program. With it, we could rewrite the world from the beginning to the end. It exists, and I'll find it, even if I have to cook my most hated soup out of dandelions. Gross, Henry muttered, turning back to the window. Lily sighed, shaking her head. At least you've got a sense of humor, Professor. Now if only you could find some order in that head of yours. Henry smirked, twirling a pendant with a worn symbol between his fingers. Worlds, potions, codes. Sounds like market folklore. Rewrite the world with a plant? Please. Lily gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles whitening. And yet, she murmured, sometimes legends are more stubborn than facts. Lucas met her eyes in the mirror and said softly, Exactly. Legends aren't accidents. Henry suddenly lifted his head, his tone turning sharp without his usual irony. Your husband's in a coma, Lily. He never told you what that symbol on his palm means, or how it's supposed to help us. He paused, studying her profile. So how can we be sure we're even going the right way? Lily drew a deep breath and pressed the gas pedal harder. He wasn't supposed to. I don't know how, but I believe it. And it's screaming. This is the only way. Lucas nodded eagerly. Intuition, he said, is the subconscious solving a puzzle before the mind does. Sometimes it's more accurate than science itself. Henry raised an eyebrow, smirking. Strange to hear that from you. Science and mysticism in one skull. Doesn't that cause static? He turned to Lily, his grin widening. And I'm watching in real time how your scientific method is smashing itself to pieces. Lucas flushed, glancing away. For a moment he looked ready to argue, but no words came. Henry chuckled lazily. Wonderful. One believes in the earth, the other in feelings. He leaned back, half closing his eyes. Guess that leaves me with common sense. Pause. Which apparently got out of this car at the last gas station and slammed the door on its way out. The car rolled slowly into the city limits. The fog was thick as milk, clinging to the headlights and swallowing their glow, turning everything around into a shimmering half-dream. At the entrance stood an old sign with faded letters, Welcome to Craven Bay, population. The numbers were torn away by the wind, and then they saw him. In the middle of the road, wrapped in mist, stood a man in a tattered cloak. In one hand, a rusted spear, in the other, a heavy, round-bellied kettle, strapped to his chest as if it had grown into him. A strip of once-white cloth covered his eyes. He stood motionless, fused with the fog, a shape from a different century. From afar, a silhouette. Up close, a man with no time on his face. Stop, whispered Lucas. Lily hit the brakes. The car stopped 2 meters from the figure. The man raised his spear, not in threat, but in something like a ritual gesture, crossing the road with it. Lucas lowered the window and shouted, voice trembling, Hey, old man, move! You'll get yourself killed! The stranger spoke in a voice like corroded metal scraping through the air. You have crossed the line. Your future is left behind. Your past awaits ahead. She is still searching. He leaned closer, his face nearly touching the glass. No eyes were visible under the blindfold, but Henry felt the weight of his gaze, cold and invasive, pressing inward. She has already noticed you, the man whispered. Now she leads you. The kettle on his chest trembled and hissed, releasing a jet of toxic green steam. The smell poured into the car, sharp, bitter, almost alive. Henry coughed, covering his face with his sleeve. What the hell kind of tea is that? Lily froze. She wasn't breathing. Lucas sniffed, cautiously, scientifically. Wormwood, a bit of hemlock, and something else. He went pale. Wait, are we sure this is tea? Oh, God, he whimpered. I told you we shouldn't have come. My back alley at home was terrifying, but this is cinema-grade horror. He fell silent, glancing at the figure still standing in the fog, a monument to someone's madness. Well, Lucas muttered, if he's not the serial killer himself, he's definitely his understudy. I'd rather never meet him again, Henry added flatly. Lily said nothing. She simply steered around the man. He didn't move, not a twitch. For a brief moment, she glanced at him through the window. Something in that slouched figure, the spear, the kettle, seemed familiar, like a half-erased memory. But she said nothing, only tightened her grip on the wheel. Okay, she said curtly. Let's move. At the roadside, a crooked sign leaned under the rain, Cape of the Damned, 2 kilometers. A little farther stood an abandoned newsstand with fogged glass. Behind it, faded newspapers, the top one reading, Final Issue. Where the date should have been, only blurred stains remained, as if time had tried to rewrite itself but disintegrated halfway. Lily turned off the radio. The silence that followed was thick, too thick. Even the engine seemed afraid to make a sound. They turned onto the main street, dead, completely. No cars, no people, only flickering yellow street lamps, glowing like forgotten bulbs in a basement. This way, Lily said quietly, turning onto a narrow lane. I remember this street. I've been here, I think. She said it out loud, but mostly to herself, as if trying to convince her own memory. The house they stopped in front of was 2 stories tall. The sign above the door hung by one rusty nail swinging in the drizzle, Inn of the 29.5 Shamans. Henry leaned toward the window, snapped his fingers, his nervous tick whenever things started to go wrong. Well, perfect. A hotel in the category of try not to check in. No stars, not even the falling ones. The facade hadn't seen paint in decades. A few windows were boarded up. In one, a curtain fluttered, from a draft, or something else. The house itself was strange, almost circular, as if built not for people but for a ritual. The walls curved inward, forming a ring, enclosing some invisible center. The door stood slightly ajar, the kind of open that means someone went in and never came out. Is this really a good idea? Lucas muttered. I'm already regretting waking up today. Here we go again, Henry sighed. Be honest, this is the hotel, right? The one your chemist. Alchemist, Lucas corrected automatically. Whatever. Chemist, alchemist. Same madhouse. I'm telling you, it's always the same formula. Spooky small town, murder legend, missing people. All made for tourists who like to pay to shiver. But this? He gestured at the house. This one's not pretending. Someone really went overboard with the drums and candles. Lily gave him a look but didn't respond. We're not actually staying here, right? Lucas squeaked. I swear I saw this place in a newspaper. People disappeared or went insane. He flailed his arms as if warding off the idea. It's like those horror movies, the ones where the characters know there's a ghost but they go inside anyway. We're not them. We're educated, rational people. We're not walking into some cultist nest. We can sleep in the car. I vote car. He glanced again at the inn and took a half step back as though it was pulling him closer. Lightning tore the sky. Thunder cracked like a whip. Rain gushed down in heavy sheets. Perfect, Lucas groaned. The atmosphere's here. The clouds RSVP'd. Cue the soundtrack of despair. He pointed dramatically at the entrance. I beg you. We're sane people. We're not going in there. Professor? Lily said calmly but with steel in her tone. You want to find your precious weed? Prove you're not just a loudmouth academic? It's not a weed, Lucas bristled, his hands clenched into fists. It's the proto-code of nature, the essence, the thing that will change everything. Then prove it. Show it. To yourself first. But sleeping in this madhouse surrounded by shadows and schizophrenia, I'll take the car. The car? Lily arched an eyebrow. Did you even read that article? The hotel was in the photo, sure, but the victims? They were scattered all over town. She turned toward the window, voice flat but cold. And no one ever proved it was the work of one person. Maybe they just went mad, and someone made up the story afterward, for tourists, to sell fear. She paused. Her voice dropped lower, rougher. Who said the car's any safer? Lucas opened his mouth, but she cut him off. This isn't a vacation, Professor. We're not here to rest. We're here to find. She leaned forward, her eyes distant, fixed on something unseen. If you want to change anything, start with yourself. Step past the fear, past your own essence. A beat, then quietly, almost trembling, and do it now. Lucas froze. Rain dripped from his glasses. He exhaled. It's not a weed, he murmured. It's karma. And shuffled after her. Lily turned to the others at the door. All right, we'll need legends. She stood under the porch as thunder rolled above the rooftops. I've got a few. She rolled her shoulders, scanning them both. Listen, back at the hospital when I was sitting with my husband, some wannabe intern came up, claimed he could pull people out of comas through hypnosis, sounded like a fortune teller, either a fraud or a genius. I told him to get lost. Then there was another one, hung around in the evenings, invited me for coffee, weird smile, but glassy eyes, tried to sell me life insurance. Her lips twisted. I hate those smiling parasites in suits, always calculating how to pay less. She straightened and concluded flatly, So, here's the plan. She pointed at Lucas. You, Professor, are the hypnotist. You tried to bring my husband back from the coma. Wait, but I only did it once, and by accident, Lucas stammered. I hypnotized myself, but technically that means I have experience. Perfect, Lily cut him off. You'll do. Then she turned to Henry. And you're my insurance agent. Came to check the paperwork. Oh, come on, where do you get this stuff? Henry scoffed. Wanted to study law, didn't get in. So, almost a lawyer, Lily said dryly. Almost is enough. No one here will notice the difference, unless they start checking encyclopedias, which they won't. She stepped toward the door, and then stopped mid-stride. If anyone asks questions, say nothing. Just nod, even if I start talking complete occult nonsense. Henry opened his mouth, about to ask. No questions, Lily interrupted again. If they find out why we're here, you'll be the ones calling an alchemist for help. I can say weird things. You, just nod. Got it? She looked at them for a second. They stayed silent. Good. Lily pushed the hotel door. It swung open with a drawn-out creak, like an old man straightening his back and mumbling, What do you want barging in here? Inside stretched a 2-story hall. It was dark, as though the hotel had been asleep for decades and someone had just nudged it awake. A few dim lamps flickered like dying candles in a forgotten chapel. Polished dark wood gleamed faintly, soaked with years, and the banisters along the walls looked like dried veins. Corridors looped in rings, pulling the eye into nowhere. Dear God, Lucas muttered behind his hand. I'd rather sleep in an alley with rats than in this place. The smell hit them, sharp, medicinal, as if time had left open bottles of wormwood, bleach, and valerian. Yep, Henry grumbled. The chemist's lair smells just like it. For once, Professor, I agree with you. This is pure hell. Why are we even here? Let's just camp with the rats. At least they're honest. Shh, Lucas hissed, adjusting his glasses. First of all, not chemist, alchemist. Second, quiet. Some buildings have ears and a memory far better than ours. Buildings? Lily narrowed her eyes. Or her. She nodded toward the front desk. At first it looked like a shadow trick, a shape sculpted by half light, but the longer they looked, the clearer it became. The shadow was looking back. Behind the counter stood a woman, or something resembling one. Hair pulled into a strict bun, old-fashioned dress, almost monastic. Too tall, too still, as if time itself had nailed her there. The floor creaked, the shadow moved, turned. "Aunt Zolia?" Lily gasped. Henry and Lucas exchanged glances. The air froze. Then the woman's face lit up with delight. "My God, Lily, what brings you here?" She rushed out from behind the counter, all smiles. "Hey, everyone, look who's come back. Maria, Michael, come down here." Her voice spread through the hall, echoing along the corridors. Two silhouettes appeared on the stairs. One of them leapt down, skipping steps, and grabbed Lily in a tight embrace. "Lil," he breathed, so sincerely that even Henry felt a strange twitch in his chest. He was about 35, cropped hair, open face, light stubble, and the kind of early gray that only comes from sleepless years. He looked after himself, but not obsessively. "I thought you'd never come back," he said, still holding her shoulders. "It's been a long time. Everything's different now." "And you," Lily said softly, "are just the same, only more serious. And your eyes, they look like they've seen another planet." He gave a crooked smile, trying to break the tension. "Don't get all dramatic, Lil." Then quieter, "Maybe because I've been waiting for you." "Maria," Zolia called upstairs, "stop haunting us and come down already. We have guests." A grumble echoed from above, shuffling steps, then a raspy voice. "Oh dear." Joy walks in and trouble follows behind. A shadow crossed the staircase and disappeared again. Henry and Lucas stood aside, tense, unsure what to do. Henry leaned toward Lucas and whispered, "Is this normal?" "Not sure," Lucas whispered back. "Feels like we've walked into a TV series halfway through season 3. "So," Michael continued, not letting go of Lily, "what brings you? Are you staying long? Why didn't you write?" "Well," she tried gently to pull away, but he held on like he was afraid she'd vanish. Zolia's warm but commanding voice sliced through the awkwardness. "Let the girl breathe," she said, taking Lily's arm and leading her toward an old sofa. "Now tell me, what brings you here?" She glanced at Lily's companions, a sly glint in her eye. "And these two are yours?" "Yes," Lily nodded. "This is Professor Lucas. He's a hypnologist." Lucas flinched, coughed into his hand, and adjusted his glasses nervously. Ahem. Well, yes, in a sense. I can see the essence of things." His tone tried to sound confident, but the blush gave him away. "And this is Henry," Lily went on, lowering her voice slightly as if sharing something private. "He's helping with the insurance for my husband. Complicated case." Henry inclined his head, switching instantly to his official mode. Lawyer, insurance, and inheritance. Occasionally, with unusual clauses. He paused. Still within legal boundaries, of course. Zolia chuckled, her eyes narrowing. "A professor and a lawyer. What an honor. Not many of those wander our halls." She patted the sofa beside her. "Sit down, don't hover like you're in a museum. This is a warm house, until proven otherwise." Lucas gave a polite bow, blushing deeper. "Much obliged." They all sat down. Henry and Lucas side by side like obedient students at a lecture. Michael remained standing beside Lily, rigid, as if afraid she'd disappear if he blinked. Then, the door creaked again. Lightning flashed outside, slicing the sky in two. For a heartbeat, the doorway became a rift between worlds, and in it, he appeared. The man from the fog, soaked to the bone, the bulging kettle still strapped to his chest, glistening with raindrops. Steam rose from its spout like it was breathing. A pale scar crossed his forehead, time's fingerprint or fire's. In one hand and the rusted spear. He shook himself off, growling a guttural brrr like a wet dog after rain. Then strode into the hall. The floorboards groaned under his boots. Reaching the center of the room, he stopped, leaned on the spear, and struck it against the floor 3 times. Sharp, rhythmic, ritualistic. Then he lifted his head and spoke. "The moon sees you," he intoned, "and she is ready to give you names." Lucas shrank in his chair, whispering to Zolia, "Who is this guy? What moon? It's morning." Zolia, calm as ever, replied, "That's the host, and with him, his inseparable companion, the kettle named Zanebu." Lucas turned pale. His glasses slid down his nose. "Oh, God, that's it, I'm packing. Wait, we haven't even checked in yet." "Quiet," Zolia said smoothly, as if scolding a child. "Don't worry. He gives everyone names. Just play along, and you'll be fine." The host paused for a moment, ran his hand behind his head, and tightened the band at the back of his skull, as if preparing for battle. Lily was first. The host stepped toward her. He drew his fingers from her forehead to her lips, as if tracing an invisible map, and froze for a heartbeat. Whether for effect or because he truly listened to some distant lunar voice, no one could tell. When he spoke, his tone became deeper, echoing like a chorus from forgotten centuries. "The moon names you, Storm in the Hair. A whirlwind lives within your curls, and your heart shall open the gates. May the forest hear you, and awaken within you." Lily bowed her head slightly, biting back a laugh. "Okay," she said, accepting the initiation. Next was Henry. The host turned toward him. Henry tensed, gripping the edge of his chair like a shield, brow furrowed in cautious defiance. The host lightly touched his forehead and chest. "You shall be Drum in the Painted Mask, with a skirt that remembers more than you do, and a drum louder than your thoughts. You long to be someone, yet every time you choose to be no one, because that way it's quieter, easier, painless." Henry frowned but stayed silent. There was something oddly accurate and almost gentle in those words. Finally came Lucas. The host turned to him. Lucas, in panic, tried several poses in quick succession: scholarly confidence, casual indifference, brave defiance, and ended up looking like a man who'd lost a battle with himself. I'm fine, really. No need to," he began. The host tilted his head, smiled sadly, and stepped closer. He placed a hand on Lucas's forehead, another on his chest. "You are tale of wisdom, in glasses, eyes that see too far, and a tale that moves whenever your soul wants to tell the truth, and your tale is now your compass." Lucas blinked, mouth open, closed it, opened it again. Finally managed, "Excuse me, my tale what?" "Compass," said the host solemnly. "Trust it, the way you trust photosynthesis." Lucas froze, struck by the word. "Photosynthesis," he muttered, pushing his glasses up. "I'm sorry, but photosynthesis is a biochemical process, not a matter of faith." "Exactly," the host interrupted calmly. Lily burst into laughter. The idea of Lucas with a tail compass was just too vivid. "But photosynthesis," Lucas spread his hands helplessly. "What does that even—" The host took a step back, clearly satisfied. The kettle on his chest hissed approvingly, releasing a puff of greenish steam, as if blessing the lunar ceremony. Zolia clapped her hands lightly. "Well then, you're family now, at least according to the moon's paperwork." The host nodded to the kettle, granting it the floor. It let out a soft hiss, then sighed. A plume of steam rose into the air, twisting into something almost legible. Lucas leaned forward, eyes wide. "It's alive?" "Not just alive," said the host. "This is Brurick, first spirit of tea, keeper of the brew, and my senior partner." Henry smirked. "And Brurick?" The host's lips curved into a sly grin. "That's his lunar name. He answers to it when the moon touches the steam and the ritual begins. But among friends, he stroked the round belly of the kettle. It purred, exhaling a warm puff. Among friends, he's always Brurick. Like a nickname? Lucas asked. No, the host's tone turned solemn. It's a name given by the brew itself, a name one cannot choose, only receive. Brurick vibrated gently, releasing another curl of smoke as if confirming. And I suggest, added the host, you address him with respect. He has a temper. The kettle has a temper, Henry muttered. Oh, heavens, Michael, we have guests, cried Zolia suddenly, clapping her hands. Tea? Coffee? Where are our manners? He makes the best coffee in town, she added proudly. Until proven otherwise. Yes, I'm on it. Michael jumped up. I'll just put the kettle on. But at those words, Brurick on the host's chest shuddered violently and hissed, a piercing electric shriek, as if the very air boiled. The room filled with the acrid tang of metal and ozone. Strike me with a drum, I told you not to, the host barked. In the blink of an eye, he was sitting beside them, spear wedged into a floor crack. No one saw him move. Silence, he growled. In his presence, no other kettles exist. He takes that as a personal insult. Brurick hissed again, louder now, almost a scream like a caged creature thrashing at its bars. The host grinned crookedly. Well, there it is. Tea's ready. No need to go anywhere. Brurick exhaled, and a whole forest seemed to spill out. Spices, moss, pine resin, something wild and alive. The air trembled. Everyone wants tea, yes? The host asked, already pouring without waiting for an answer. Michael froze mid-step, uncertain. Zolia waved him off casually, as if none of this were unusual. Go on, go to the kitchen, make your own brew, coffee, tea, whatever you've got. Lucas rubbed his temples. If possible, just water. Cold, please. Henry leaned toward him, whispering with a grin. See? Nothing to fear from those tabloid horror stories. I'm still afraid, Lucas muttered. Just not of them anymore. Then suddenly, ah, he yelped, squeezing his eyes shut and rubbing his nose. Something's furry. My God, are there cats here? The answer came instantly. A cat darted across the corridor, followed by a small boy, maybe 6 or 7, wielding something like a metal poker and yelling, You won't escape, I just want to play. Zolia caught him mid-run, grabbing the collar of his oversized sweater. Careful, little bandit, let her pass. The boy stopped, sulked, then looked at Henry, embarrassed. Sorry, sir, she always runs away. And how do we speak to elders? Zolia prompted sternly. He straightened up. Sorry, sir. That's better. One of ours, Zolia said matter-of-factly. Michael's boy. Sometimes runs around like a spirit in slippers. Must have swapped his oatmeal for a potion this morning. She turned to Lucas. Yes, we have cats. About 7, I think. Old walls. Old habits. I'm allergic, Lucas croaked, eyes watering. Wait, Henry frowned. Didn't you have a parrot? And he ruined my life too, Lucas wailed. Cursed feathered demon. Neighbor gave him to me. Went on a 1-week vacation and never came back. The bird was academic stock. Didn't shed, didn't bite, but lectured on quantum mechanics at 4 a.m, loudly, like a prosecutor. So the allergy was to parrots? Henry asked. No, to cats, biochemical furry treacherous bombs. You sure? Lily teased. Absolutely. Once fell asleep at a friend's. Woke up covered in fur, eyes swollen, couldn't breathe. Nearly met my ancestors. He sighed dramatically. And of course I forgot the pills. Though, what home? I don't even remember the last time I was home. Zolia turned sharply toward the corridor. Michael! From the kitchen came his voice, echoing among dishes. I'm coming! He appeared a moment later, wiping his hands on his apron, cheeks flushed, smelling of coffee and rain. What is it? He asked, scanning the room. New patient, said Zolia, nodding at Lucas. Professor, allergic to cats. Can you help? Ah, of course. Michael nodded, already turning. No worries, Professor. We've got everything. This isn't some hole in the wall. He disappeared briefly, clinking bottles, returned with a small plastic jar. Here, he said, placing it in front of Lucas. Antihistamine. Local brew. Lucas eyed it suspiciously as if it were a sacred relic. Works faster than a kettle's hiss. Michael smiled. Take one a day. You'll be fine. It doesn't even have a label, Lucas noted. We don't write names, Michael said gently. We recognize by taste. Lucas frowned. Side effects? Michael picked up a paperclip from the table, unbent it slowly. There are some mild ones, made by the alchemist himself. A pause thickened the air. Then Michael quickly added, raising his hands. No, not that alchemist. Ours, local one. He's got a shop downtown, sells all kinds of natural wonders. Disappeared recently, though. Been gone a month, maybe 2. Lucas kept studying the jar. The pills inside were dark blue, faintly shiny, like lacquered pebbles. He muttered. Well, things can't get much worse. He tossed one into his mouth and washed it down with tea. The taste was minty, but with a strange metallic undertone, as if he were chewing copper coins. Michael straightened suddenly, the paperclip snapped in his fingers, and he disappeared into the dark hallway. Zolia chuckled, following him with her eyes, then turned to Lily with a different tone, warm but sharp, precise. So, how are you, dear? How's your husband, our boy? Is he all right? Lily hesitated. She glanced at Henry and Lucas. They understood without words. Silence fell. Zolia instantly felt the shift. Her face hardened. Speak. Don't dress it up. Don't drag it out, Lily. All right. Lily nodded slowly. Your son is in the hospital. The hospital? Zolia gasped, covering her mouth. What do you mean, in the hospital? He's stable, Lily said carefully. What do you mean stable? What happened to him? Lily lowered her eyes. Her voice wavered. He's alive, mostly, but he's in a coma. A coma? Zolia lurched forward, almost touching Lily's face. Why? How? He was shot, Lily said quietly. Shot? Zolia screamed so loud the walls seemed to flinch. Michael, they shot your brother. The door burst open. Michael stood there with a tray, cups rattling, coffee nearly spilling. What? He breathed. Zolia repeated, softer but dead clear, every word like a hammer blow. They shot your brother. Michael entered, still processing the words. He handed out the cups mechanically. Only when the tray was empty did his expression change, the disbelief giving way to fear. Don't panic, Lily said firmly. Doctors say he has every chance. He'll make it. Henry raised an eyebrow, his look cautious. Lily pressed on before her voice could break. It was the lawyer and his crew. You know them. And you know your brother. He couldn't sit still. Treasure hunter, thrill chaser. He found something here in Craven Bay, some kind of artifact, of luck or power or whatever nonsense he was obsessed with. Same as always. She swallowed, spoke faster, almost gasping. Then he didn't share it, and after that, it all began. I told him, Michael rasped. Everything in that town's rotten. He should have walked away. Lawyer? Henry repeated under his breath. He and Lucas exchanged glances, equally lost. Lily inhaled deeply. When the shooting started, the professor here was nearby, and the crystal, I don't know what it is or how it works, but it saved his life. Zolia and Michael looked at each other, disbelief frozen on their faces. What crystal? Zolia whispered. The silence thickened. Henry nodded toward Lucas. You brought it, right? Show them. Lucas hesitated. He removed his glasses, wiped them with a handkerchief, then carefully pulled from his bag a bundle wrapped in old cloth. He unfolded it slowly. In the dim light, the crystal came alive, glowing soft blue at first, timidly like a breath, then brighter, until the walls themselves seemed to tremble and the whole room filled with a light like a small star cupped in invisible hands. Shadows fluttered on the walls. Brurik hissed quietly on the host's chest, as if responding. Everyone felt it. The crystal was looking through them, each in its own way. Zolia rose, drawn toward the glow, not awe on her face, recognition, like seeing a debt returned from another lifetime. No one spoke. Lucas, holding it delicately between two fingers, slid it toward the center of the table. The host, sitting apart, slowly lifted his head. He turned toward the crystal like a beast sensing fire. His hand extended, not to touch, but to feel the warmth. Then, with a short, reverent bow, he whispered, Ashkathulam nekasa dorute alchinha. The sound wasn't speech, and it was vibration. Even Zolia flinched. That's not from here, she murmured. And at that very instant, Brurik on his chest shrieked, bursting with steam. For a moment, the vapor formed a word, carved in the air, Ajutera. The letters trembled, dissolved, and vanished before anyone could breathe. Hey! Henry leaned forward. That was writing, right? Zolia took a sip of wine, smirking faintly. I think I know the translation. Something like, it's already here. She paused. Or maybe, he has arrived. And with her familiar dry tone, until proven otherwise. The host brushed his hand across his forehead, fingers lingering on his scar. Brurik hissed again, this time like eyes snapping open. A faint pulse ran along the wooden shaft of the spear. By the drum, the host muttered, I've forgotten how to brew my own tea. He sank back into his seat, weary. Michael stared at the crystal, unblinking. His fingers twitched, and the paperclip appeared again, bending and unbending between his fingers. Then carefully he raised his hand. May I? He asked barely audibly. Lucas didn't move. Only if it accepts you. What? Michael's lips curved faintly. If it doesn't like you, it burns, Lucas said, glancing at Lily. We've tested that theory already. Michael smiled weakly but lowered his hand, the clip snapping again. Not today, he whispered and sat back. Lucas began wrapping the crystal but paused. The glow dimmed, not gone but flickering, like a heartbeat skipping a note. Huh, he frowned. It blinked. He leaned closer, peering. That's new. Everything okay? Lily asked softly. Lucas didn't answer right away. He listened, to the pulse only he could hear. Then carefully wrapped the crystal again, as if tucking in something fragile. Probably fine, he murmured. Just odd, like it remembered someone. The light faded. Everyone blinked, like waking from a dream. You know, Henry muttered, breaking the silence. I'm so hungry right now I could eat spinach, raw. Lucas sighed, grabbed a glass of water as so, and poured it straight into the flower pot beside him. Michael raised an eyebrow. So did Henry. What? Lucas shrugged. I like plants. He leaned closer to the leaf, inspecting it. See those dry edges? Chlorophytum. Overwatered, maybe burned. Tough but sensitive. My mom had 3 of these. Forgot to water one once. It dropped half its leaves, out of spite. You really know this stuff? Zolia asked. My mother ran the botanical garden, Lucas said. I grew up in greenhouses, never got along with people. But plants? We understand each other. Lily slapped the back of his chair lightly, not hard, but enough. Lucas caught the hint and went quiet. Henry chuckled, sipping his coffee. Nice to know someone here can communicate with a living species. Lily and Henry exchanged a glance, and in that moment something flickered in Michael. His fingers clenched around the paperclip again. The snap was sharp, like a distant gunshot. The silence thickened. Lily and Henry looked at each other. Michael kept folding and unfolding the thin strip of metal, every click marking time like a hidden clock deep within the empty halls. At last he stopped. He stared at the bent clip and laid it gently back on the table. Now it wasn't just a twisted wire. On the wood remained a shape, a mark, half symbol, half word, something not of this world, and yet eerily familiar. Lily's gaze slid over it, and she flinched. Her hand moved to her palm. The faint scar there from childhood games of shamans seemed to tingle. For a heartbeat, she was certain she'd seen that symbol before, somewhere close, on an old door, in a dream, in a place she'd never wanted to return to, but that never stopped calling her back.